much the basics.
Yeah. You know, I know that it seemed like kind of a short presentation, but what I really want to do is more question and answer. So, if anybody has any questions, yes.
This is not what I call homesteading, though. Like I told you, I have a brother that homesteaded.
Mm-hmm.
He moved onto his land. There was nothing. They dug a hole in the side of a hill. That wall was dirt. And they put boards along the front and sides. And that's where they lived until they could get a regular house built. But that's...
Well, you know, as I've said, you know, homesteading is different for everybody. You know, there's people that go that far. There's people that live in apartments that buy produce from farms and can, you know, just trying to be more self-sufficient. So being able to move out and do that, that's incredible.
Mulching through the summer. When you mow your grass, you just put it right on one of the gardens?
Yeah, usually once kind of it warms up, the grass kind of disappears and the weeds take over. So I don't get much grass clippings, but early in the year the grass is pretty thick and I get it and I just put it straight on. I figure, well, you know, I don't put it like maybe right up to the plant if say I'm doing the tomatoes, but you know, the being green, that heat to me helps kind of keep it packed down, break it down, and makes it a little denser mulch.
Right.
Do you use grass to mulch your whole garden? I mean, do you put it on everything?
If I had enough, I would, but I usually don't have that many grass clippings. Usually it's kind of warmed up by the time, say, like the beans go in and stuff like that, and the grass has kind of stopped growing and the weeds have...
Your grass stops growing, yes.
Well, it's not growing as vigorously.
Yeah, later in the season.
Well, when you're done, then do you just throw that all into the ground?
Just leave it
And
right
it'll
there.
decompose?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you put a big pile of grass anywhere, it doesn't decompose. It'll.
Right, I mean, you know, so a big pile of grass, you want to talk about like composting, yeah, you got to aerate it, move it, you know, flip it around, stuff like that. But when it's, you know, I mean, yeah, when I put it down when it's fresh, it might be this thick, but by the time, you know, the end of the summer comes, it might be down here or even lower, so it's not as
Well,
dense.
does it prevent the weeds or just cover them up so you can't see them?
Maybe a little of both, but
You got weeds that, if everything else grew like they did.
yeah, when, you know, my asparagus, I have very few weeds in it. My biggest challenge there is I've got this huge row of Rosa Sharon right next to it, and all their seeds fall in every year.
Oh, they go everywhere.
Those are kind of tough to control, but milkweed is another one that will come up through the mulch. But other than that, you know, if I've got the mulch down, the asparagus, my tomatoes, I work at those probably primarily tomatoes because it's tough to weed around the cages and stuff once I have this in place. I have very few weeds come up through the mulch. And there again, you know, I just leave it on the soil or for kind of...
So do you use any kind
Question regarding the pressure canning. I actually pressure canned some chicken a couple of years ago, along with seafood stock separately. How long can I actually have that in the cupboard without it going bad? The seals are still okay and everything else. How long is too long?
So if you look on the ball packaging, I believe they say it's 18 months.
We know that.
However, I've gone into my great mother-in-law's basement, and she'll have things down there that are 5, 7 years old, seal's still there, no sign of mold. So the thing is that if your seal's still there, open it up, smell it. If it has an odd smell, has an odd consistency, toss it. Because your biggest fear, and I guess I probably should have spoke on this, is botulism. And that's why we pressure can. So botulism is a fungus and a spore. And it lives in anaerobic environments. So in your jar, where there's no oxygen, that's where it flourishes. So as long as you pressure can and follow a safe tested recipe, and the seal's still good, your fear of botulism shouldn't be there. Most other things that are going to cause you issue are going to be very, very apparent when you open that jar. Yeah,
So when it's like a foot of snow outside, the pigs don't care. Cool.
as long as they have a space, and I mean, you got to think they're not just going to sit there all day and wait for the snow to just go all around them. They're going to be moving. They're going to be kind of, running around in the dirt trying to find whatever they can under the snow.
Okay, thank you.
And with the chickens, your biggest challenge there is eggs freezing.
Yes.
That's
yes.
the biggest challenge. And so you got to kind of keep an eye, and you'll learn roughly when the birds lay eggs. So you'll know like to go out and check for eggs and collect them more often in the wintertime because they'll freeze.
But also the other side of that is that chickens lay a lot less in the winter. So when it's cold, they have a tendency to lay a lot less. So.
I also read about the water in the coop freezing in the winter. Do you guys have a heater or something in the water?
I never put my water in the coop.
Okay.
I never put food or water in the coop. Although sometimes some oatmeal would happen to get into the coop. I don't know how that got there.
They loved it.
Food and water always stays out of the coop. Yeah. I mean, it can get kind of messy in the coop. The birds are in there overnight and stuff. So I used a heated dog bowl, and so that's how I kept my water
That's really
for
smart.
freezing. They do make heated waters.
I buy them on Amazon for my cats that live out.
Yeah,
My daughter has
Yeah,
them for
there's a lot
goats,
of different kind of options. I mean, they make some that kind of sit underneath a bowl to heat it. There's a lot of options.
Well, we do have the electric heated. Not a big fan of it, just because. So we have two, and they're ancient, but the first one shorted out and stopped working, and so that was my sign. Like maybe we shouldn't be doing this. So we do have a water source at the coop, but it's turned off in the winter because the lines freeze. So I have a dedicated backpack that I walk 100 yards about from my place to Julie's with a container of water on my back and just
feed
dump it
every
out
day.
and refill it.
Nice. Thank you.
It's like putting water on or getting rid of water if you have too much. How do you get rid of that? How do you do that?
You don't.
I
It's,
was going to say, yes, it's
yeah,
secret. I don't know.
no, it's just okay. When's it going to stop raining?
Yeah,
that kind of situation. So.
Okay.
Kind of fertilizer before you plant anything?
Other than compost, no.
No.
My brother.
Do you guys do anything with crop rotation to help the soil with nitrogen inducing plants one year and another the next? And then also there used to be a trend with coffee grounds. I never understood it. Do you guys know anything about that?
Well, as far as the crop rotation, so every year I kind of make a map of where I've grown things. So I had carrots here last year. This year they'll go here, the next year they'll go, so I have like raised beds kind of in a circle. So everything kind of follows each other. Now I do have certain areas where, like the corn, the beans, and tomatoes, I grow those in bigger areas. And there again, it's like, okay, corn is here this year, next year it's this spot. Beans are here, you know, and so those three kind of rotate. Coffee grounds, yeah, you hear a lot about people using coffee grounds, you know, in mulches and things like that. And my wife is probably going, because I am anti-coffee. I do not, other than like maybe a flavoring in ice cream or something, I don't do coffee. And so we don't have a lot of grounds. But
I
yeah, okay. So I don't do much with coffee grounds. I don't do.
So with the coffee grounds, we do use them. They just get thrown in the compost though.
Oh, okay.
So.
You think it's helpful? Like it's actually good?
Yeah, I mean it's considered even though it's brown, it's considered a green.
Okay.
But my perspective is more, it's not going to do any damage, and it keeps it out of the landfill. And I consume a lot of coffee. Touching on his point of the crop rotation, I did want to dispel one myth. A lot of times you'll hear companion planting. Companion planting, grow your beans, your legumes, with beside something that needs nitrogen.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. So the nitrogen, so what happens with a legume is that it kind of soaks up the nitrogen in its roots over the season. And so it's not until you cut that plant off at the ground level, let it decompose, that it kind of dispels that nitrogen back into the ground, and then you'd want to plant something right there that is nitrogen loving.
And they're like level, you know, this level, and he cut plastic drums in half, and they fit in there,
Okay.
and round pots, and his garden is all up high. And they
To me, that's raised
They
bed.
have beautiful plants,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's raised
Yeah.
bed to me. You know, the ones that are only a foot high. Yeah, okay, it brought it up a little bit. I'm still bending over a lot. You know, not good.
With your raised bed, how often do you get rid of the soil and put new soil in?
Every year.
Every year.
Every year. Well, because we also, we rotate our crops as well, and we made the mistake last year of not fixing our soil, and we decided to just use the old soil, and because we thought we were cutting corners, just use the old soil and plant potatoes. We had 5 potatoes, and I think the biggest one was about this big, because that soil had just been depleted. So yeah, we do it every year, and we try to, and I put in worm castings with my compost and my old soil as well, to just kind of revive it a bit.
Get any younger? Yes.
I have a lot of red raspberries. I have a problem with fruit flies. And I try to do the natural stuff, and I use those yellow sticky, and it helps a lot, but it's still a problem. Do you have any suggestions on that?
I don't do a lot with red raspberries, so I don't have a lot of information on it as far as like I know with the black raspberries, I never have like a fruit fly type problem. My problem there is Japanese beetles. But reds, I'm not familiar with, you know, whether it's a true fruit fly. I'm not sure. There again, you know, I would probably talk to.
They prefer the red raspberries over my blackberries.
Okay.
Then you said diatomaceous earth. I use eggshells. Do you have a preference on either one of them?
Well, it depends what you're trying to do. Eggshells don't stick to tomato plant leaves very well. So the diatomaceous earth, I pretty much dust plants. I don't use that too much. Yeah, I don't use that too much in the soil. Eggshells would be better in the soil because diatomaceous earth, once it gets damp, it's not as effective. It's more effective as when it's dry. So in the soil.
And then